The natural philosophers were a group of philosophers that predated Socrates, who were interested in the natural world and the cause of change in the natural world. They asked several important questions that established the foundation of philosophy and developed several tools that allowed philosophers to do the work of breaking from mythology. Before the natural philosophers could describe the nature of reality itself, they first had to agree on whether or not their senses were reliable. Parmenides, an early philosopher, argued that our senses lie to us, that all that exists is, in fact, an illusion that masks the fundamental nature of being. These bones, this moon, this river is all an illusion. Everything that we see is an illusion. Heraclitus, a contemporary of him, argued that not only could our senses be trusted, but that everything that we looked at was representative of change, which was the nature of the universe. "You cannot step into the same river twice," he is famous for saying, which argues that all of matter is moving and changing constantly, and that our senses reflect this. This fundamental disagreement about whether or not our senses reflected reality as it actually was, or whether or not reality was in fact made of something more fundamental and elemental, and therefore unobservable, divided many philosophers. Pythagoras followed a Parmenidean view of things, believing that all of nature was made of numbers. 1, 2, 3, and 4 were holy numbers that comprised all of reality. Philosophers like Thales, however, believed that nature was made of a unifying substance. In the case of Thales, he believed that everything was made of water. Besides explaining the nature of matter, philosophers also had to account for the nature of change. Specifically, how can one object become another? In the case of Parmenides, the argument was simple: things do not change. But philosophers like Heraclitus had to account for how something like ice could turn into something like water. The philosopher Empedocles argued that all of matter was made of 4 substances: earth, air, water, and fire, and that these 4 substances combined together in different ways to create all of matter. Democritus, a philosopher from Abdera, argued that all of matter was made of tiny invisible particles known as atoms, and that they were natural forces that brought them together and broke them apart. These 2 philosophers helped establish the nature of change. Contemporary philosophy continues to ask the questions originally raised by the natural philosophers. Can we trust our senses? Is the universe made of observable phenomenon or abstract conceptions? What are the fundamental elements and forces that govern change? But although we have moved on from many of the conclusions described by these early philosophers, their legacy is hard to understate. They described, using only logic and observation, basic universal principles that fit neatly with our current understanding of physics. They established a type of objective inquiry that broke from religion, and they established the foundation of modern science. In this unit, we will take a look at how these early philosophers laid the groundwork for all science and philosophy that would follow.